Hello. I would like to preface this video by saying that even though I'm in release 1.2.5, everything you see here can be built in beta 1.7.3. Having said that, what exactly is it that you are currently looking at? Well, this is what you get when you combine redstone computing with mob traps and farms in beta Minecraft. Now, there isn't a computer here per se, but there are computer components. There's shift registers, 2 of them. There is a adding circuit along with a binary to decimal decoder and a decimal to hexadecimal or 7-segment decoder. And then there's a 7-segment display over there which utilizes those circuits. And then there's programming memory, which is actuated by a counting circuit instead of a shift register as you would normally expect in a redstone computer. Now, this circuit enables you, or all these circuits enable you to do various different things. For example, you can send mobs to an arena so you can fight them. Or you can send mobs to a town to act as NPCs in your little shops, so they can act as shopkeepers. So we have a skeleton here, and we have a, well, I think I had a creeper here, but he despawned. And there was a zombie there, but like I said, he despawned too. So, quick note, right? So this circuit is not perfect. Big failure, big problem with this whole contraption is that when mobs despawn, this thing just, it doesn't recognize what's happening and it fails to reset itself. So a good way to fix that would be, there we go, just doing one of those. So I think I'll just act like all slots are empty. Alright, so that one's actually, I think, still full. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, let's go ahead and have a look at the control room. And then we'll look at the circuits. And then we'll look, I think, a little bit more closely at the memory, programming memory. So this is the control room where everything is ran. The first thing here is not actuated by any circuits. This is the activity panel. So down there, spiders and tall mobs will make their way past certain locations, and then they'll step on a pressure plate, and you will hear a click. And that indicates that they're on their way up this giant tube. Next, you have the junction panels for loot from the cactus farm and the reed farm. There are 2 locations that you can have items sent to automatically. The first loot location is the AFK farm. So you can sit here and do your farming for your wheat. And maybe if you want to collect your wheat, you do that, right? And then you click that, and you just sit here and you collect all the items that are going to drop down on you. Any items you don't want, of course, will just go past and go into that lava. Of course, you have to fill your inventory with the loot you want so that you don't pick up unwanted items. Now, the second pickup location is the control room pickup point, which is right here. Basically, the control room loot point. You just sit here, you let all the items pour down on you. And that's it for those. These are the control panels for the cactus farm and reed farm. Cactus just has pistons extend over the cacti so they don't grow. Reed disables the bud switch. It disconnects the bud switch from the rest of the circuit, but it's not like you have to go up there and reset it or anything. You can literally just turn it on and off and it'll work perfectly fine. This is the junction board for spiders, so you can send them to the arena as you saw above. You can send them to the kill system for their loot, or you can send them to lava if you don't want them. This is the junction this is the junction box for the valves up there to send mob loot to either to the AFK farm or the control point over there, the control room collection point over there. And then this is the junction board for tall mobs. You can send them to the town to be NPCs, as I said. You can send them to the arena where the spiders were. You can send them to lava, or you can send them to the kill system. And of course, this is the control board for what spawns inside of the spawn chamber below. In the chamber, you have pistons in the roof, and you have pistons in the floor. The pistons in the floor will push up slabs and disable spiders if I do this. Right, and the pistons in the roof will be pushed down to prevent tall mobs from spawning if I do that, like that. And of course, with both of these off, nothing will spawn in the chamber below, and I'm going to go ahead and turn these back on. Okay, now everything over here is all about rod control. Rod control fine-tunes the light level in the spawn chamber below. So in case you didn't know, at light level 7 or below, as the light gets darker and darker and darker, the spawn rate, or the spawn chance for a hostile mob goes up. This isn't the case with wolves or animals. At light level 9, they will spawn as fast as they can. So hostile mobs, you can fine-tune their spawn rates. You can do this to fine-tune their spawn rates if you want a slime factory, for example, to work at a certain rate, but you don't want to forego other hostile loot spawns. Hostile spawn loots. So that's what this is all for. So you have a couple of different ways that you can control the control rods, right? You have a means to drive the control rods with that panel over there. You have group selection over here. You have 2 groups that you can select. You have something that estimates the rate of spawns in the chambers based on the rod height. So if I go over here, I select red group. Boop, you'll notice that this light changed. I had blue group set to shim out, and I have red group set to shim in. So this reads what the shift register is ready to do and is doing, right? And it only reads one shift register. It either reads the red group shift register or the blue group shift register. So with my red group shift register, or with red group ready to shim in, I'm going to go ahead and shim in. I'm going to start boop, right there. So this will activate a clock under the red group shift register, and you'll see that the red group rods are going in. And I'm going to go ahead and stop. Okay, and it stopped all the way down. Oh well. Anyway, so that's that. You see the rod bottom lights come in, and you see that the spawn rate has now gone down. And of course, if I wanted to select a higher rate of spawns without doing all that stuff, you go to direct select here, and it'll immediately write the bit to the shift register. It resets and then writes it in. And then you see rod bottom light is off, and then the board up here is going to update. Alright, so one last thing, Scram. If there's an emergency, you need to shut everything down. Or at least you need the lights to go in as far as they can. You need the chamber to be as bright as possible, as quick as possible. You hit the Scram switch. And immediately you'll see the spawn rate drop to 0, rod bottom lights come in. And of course, shim out. Because you can't shim in any further, there's a couple interlocks on each shift register to prevent the player from doing anything stupid. Alright, anyway. This is the daylight, this is the day board, right? So currently we're on the 5th day here, and if you wanted to stop the day from being moved forward, you just disconnect the daylight sensor from the counting circuit over there, and that stops the day from being moved forward, which stops your programming memory being read and setting all the settings over here. But if you want to move the day forward, manually, of course you could do that. You could also wait for the daylight sensor to do its thing. You don't have to use a daylight sensor to move the day forward. You can use anything else. Is day 5 completely off, or... Let me give it a second, and I will pulse the day again. Let me go ahead and pulse the day one more time. Okay, so now we see everything starting to change. It takes a long time for the day to really shift over. So today, 10% spawn rate. Where's everything going? Where's everyone going? Spiders are going to the arena now. Mobs are going to the town. Okay. Alright, so that effectively, that's the point of the whole daylight counter circuit, the daylight sensor connected counter circuit in the ROM over there, is to control everything in here for you. That's right. Everything in here can be controlled automatically. You don't need to be in here at all. You don't need to touch any of these buttons. All that out there does that for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and have a look at what all that out there is. First, we will look at the shift registers. Now, shift registers are typically associated with redstone computers. These are what activates the next line of your memory, right? Shift the bit over, right? Or you could have 2 lines of memory active. You could have 2 bits active, but these registers are constructed only to have 1 bit active and slide it forward or back and not loop around. So there's like a reset line and a couple of interlocks to prevent any of that from happening. So this is the red group shift register, that's the blue group shift register. And they control their own group. They control their own group of rods, as I explained earlier. Over here, This is like a calculator, right? So these are adders. The adders feed into a binary to decimal decoder, and then the decimal to decoder feeds into 3 different decimal to 7-segment display decoders, which then feed into a 7-segment display over there. And the binary to decimal decoder is small. It is not a full binary to decimal decoder. It only calculates or decodes in units of 5, starting from 0 to 100, because that's all I need. So it's not full. Next would be the clock or the counting circuit. Now, typically, right, this is programming memory, right? This is usually actuated, as I said, by a shift register. However, I don't need the features of a shift register here, so I have a counting circuit, which is this. All it does is count forward and then loops back to the first day. And this is the daylight detector here. So every day, the daylight detector will pulse the counter circuit counts up 1, and the next line in memory is read. And the controls over there are actuated as you have programmed. And there are 8 decks. Each deck is for each day. So we will now look at memory, since it requires a bit of more of a explanation. So immediately you see reset lines. You can reset the entire array, each deck, each line, or you can just reset the line. And you see that there's only a couple of redstone torches on each line. So this area, in particular, you should only see 2 torches. Only 2. If I do this, let's say, okay, snow, okay, so let me go down to this day to make it a little more clear and easy to understand. So we have rods at bottom, completely off, right? Now, oops, that's set to 0. Now I have red group selected for 2 separate heights. What do you think happens? The shift register will receive 2 pulses. Red group shift register will receive a pulse for this height and this height. It will erase the bit that was written, and it will write the new bit in. One of these heights will be selected. I don't know which one. I'll write this back for a second. This effectively is a bug. Right, in programming terms, this is what we call a bug. This is never supposed to happen. You're not supposed to do this. You're effectively going up to the direct selection board and kind of hitting 2 buttons really rapidly and seeing what the shift register does. So you should only see 2 torches, and they should be 1 for each group. And that is for this entire section here. All of this section is dedicated to rod height. If we go over here, however, there are other settings where you'll see a lot more torches on per deck. And that is because these are different controls. So these are the valve controls for where the cactus loot goes, right? And this is the sugarcane loot. And if I were to do this, right, boop, now sugarcane is open to either go to the AFK farm or the control room, and I'll tell you, it'll go nowhere. Because the valve is open and water is flowing in 2 different directions. Good luck figuring out where it goes. So try to select only 1 loot location for these items, otherwise you're just not going to receive it. These are, of course, this is applicable to all these valves, really, including for the entities. They'll just wind up going to random locations. You don't want that. So these are the locations for where the spiders should go. These are the loot locations, because I did organize this by the board. So in case you forgot, spider junction, item junction, and then hostile junction, right? So these are where the hostiles go. As you see, 4 different locations. And then these are the on and off switches for hostiles, for talls and spiders. And then these are the on-off switches for the different farms, the cactus farm, the reed farm. And these are just 4 unused bits that I didn't do anything with. And of course, you see different settings for each day. Now, something to note when you program this. Let me find out which day is active. Currently active day. You see glowstone right there. Boop. You see sand right there. Glowstone active day. Okay. If I hit this, if I switch this to 1 on the active day, now cactus is set to both of these. I didn't just program the memory. I also changed the setting in the control room. And I think we should be able to see that here. I think it should be set to both. Yeah. No. Let me see. Oh, okay. I think I have an interlock. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so I guess I protected myself because I set an interlock. But as you see, the setting changed, right? I'll change that back. Anyway, if there wasn't an interlock there, you'd have cactus going to two separate places, as I discussed earlier, and you know, it looks like I protected myself from that kind of silly mistake. So let me go down here and fix this. So this is everything set to the control room. So let me write this to 0. Anyway, right, this is the active day. When you program the active day, you change the setting in the control room. So try not to program the active day unless you don't mind changing what's going on actively. That is it for this memory, right? That's pretty much it for the overview of this entire thing. So to wrap things up, quick little summary. Or I could show you, okay, I'll quickly do a quick overview of the kill systems, right? Here's the kill system for tall mobs. So you see tall mobs slide along this and they get killed by lava, right? Spiders get drowned. And of course there's valves to send mobs to 2 different locations, and I'll give you a quick look inside the chamber to show you what I mean by the pistons that control what can spawn inside. And then I will go over the brief summary of everything that I discussed in the video. So as you see, light level is pretty high. There's slabs down here, there's pistons out here. Slabs extend up to prevent spiders. These extend down to prevent tall mobs. So let me go ahead and swap this out. Alright, now, having said that, this is also rod height indication if I didn't already discuss that already. So to summarize everything in the video, right, mob traps can be used for more than just providing items. They can provide entities to locations to serve as NPCs. And you can use redstone computing components to change what goes on a day-to-day basis, as you observed earlier when I changed the day over. So I'm going to go ahead and reset everything on this map. And I'm going to provide this as a map download, and then I'll probably provide the tutorial for the shift registers as well. But that's it. Thank you.